Moving on swiftly to match week 8 in the Premier League, we'll have previews, team news, stream links, anything you need on Pro Soccer Talk about all the games coming up this weekend before the international break kicks in. I'm going to start by previewing that big game, Man City, Liverpool, as we said, Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. For me, this is the real it's early season, but it still is a statement. It's a marker. It's for Man City, have we got over our early season inconsistency? For Liverpool, can we fully cope without Virgil van Dijk, especially with Sergio Aguero looking like he could be back for this one? That's huge team news for Man City. So I'm looking at this as a great battle that we've seen over the last few seasons. These teams are so close. There's not much between them, boys. But I think that right now we're going to see extra motivation from both these sides to say, you know what, all the problems everyone's been talking about us early in the season, they're not there. This is the level we're at. So, Nick, what do you think about this game? What's your sort of prediction for how it's going to unfold? Because these games have been bizarre the last few years. You've had blowout wins for City, same for Liverpool. But when you look at the 90 minutes of football, they've actually all been quite close, apart from a magic moment or one player really stepping up and delivering goals galore in these games.
Well, we know that it usually matters a lot on the table. And that's why I think that depends a lot on the conditions at the table. And that's why I like it happening this early. You may get a truer sense of the game. Klopp has, in recent years against City, not let the dogs out for the whole game. We know he likes to attack, but people don't like to say this about him because it goes against his Buccaneer personality, but he will play smart and defensive. And will we see that, or will he say, listen, everybody knows I don't have Van Dijk. Let's just go for it and see what happens and try and win 4-3. So I'm going to be guided on how I feel who will win the game in the first 10 minutes based on how Klopp plays it. I think City wins this game by virtue of health, by virtue of having less of a test during the week. Atalanta is going to be harder than Olympiacos. So I'm very interested to see how Jurgen Klopp plays this game.
Andy, what about you? Quick one before Nick moves on to his next game. But as someone who's watched these teams closely over the last few years, who do you think is in a better position right now in terms of being that title contender or title winner this season?
Yeah, I think you just get a true sense of who a team is when they're going through their difficult patch of a season, and the fact that they're both kind of going through one at the same time is rare. Very rarely when you've got a title race, one will start well, one will start poorly, then they'll finish kind of the opposite, and they'll meet in the middle. They've both started a little bit rough, and I know Liverpool are sitting top of the table, but only West Brom have conceded more goals than them, and as PST's resident West Brom watcher, that's bad company to be in. You don't want to be in that company. And then City, all the injuries and everything that they've had and where they're sitting in the table, it's not, it's been anything but pretty from them. And that's what we've kind of come to expect from Guardiola's teams over the years. So, who can kind of just, manage the trials and tribulations that they've had early in the season, and then facing off, head to head against one another, who can put that aside and say, this is arguably the biggest game of the entire season. 3 points here goes a long, long way to either Liverpool kind of leaving Man City behind a little bit in the table, or City closing a lot of space in between those two for the 30 games that'll be remaining after.
Big game this Sunday, 11:30 Eastern time. Man City, Liverpool, two giants collide, two teams who've dominated the Premier League in recent seasons. Let's see if they can get over those early season struggles and start producing their best form. So Nick Mendola, Everton against Man United. Those are two teams that have been struggling in recent weeks. They're facing off 7:30 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday at Goodison Park. What are you looking for in this one, mate?
Everton's last game without Richarlison. They also won't have Luka Dean. James, we don't quite know yet, or at least where he's going to be. So Everton's hopes are very much in the we have Carlo and you don't camp. And maybe in the United is coming back from Turkey camp. So this is a good chance to see if Everton's unencumbered fixture list can give it an edge. One other thing I want to note, absolutely tumultuous summer and fall and start of the season for Harry Maguire. I think he's been very good with the exception of the Azpilicueta play that didn't get called for a penalty since. So between him and Lindelof, have they found a nice little mix to deal with Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
That's true. Obviously, the Pogba issues aside, against Arsenal, conceded a penalty kick, but they were largely solid. Arsenal didn't cause them too many problems, but they need to figure out that midfield and that attacking unit, I think, to get it firing again. Because I think after the Tottenham result, they've gone too far the other way, right? They've gone too defensive. They've been less able to get on the ball in dangerous areas. Bruno Fernandes looks very frustrated because he just isn't getting any kind of support there. But, having watched Everton closely the last few weekends, this is a very good time to play Everton. That said, though, they will be wanting to kind of react and get back to their best. But I think Ancelotti now, we're just kind of seeing them regress to where they are, which is at best 6th or 7th place team, not the top 4 or title challengers that many had them down as after the first month of the season. So Andy Edwards, Chelsea against Sheffield United. That's a sneaky good game. I mean, Chelsea have improved a lot. Sheffield United have been very unlucky, I would argue. They've a lot of 1-goal defeats so far. Haven't been great going forward, but what is your take on this game at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Sheffield United. And I know they were kind of obviously the promoted team who finished really well last season, and the inverted center backs and Chris Wilder and the story. And there was just so much to love about that. And so we go into the off season, that brief as it was, with, okay, they'll just continue right on as if this thing works, in a linear fashion, and it doesn't. And they've been really poor. They've got a point. They have 1 point. Yes. And I'm looking here, and since Nick hasn't gone to the expected goals this week, I'll do it for him. 4th from bottom in terms of expected goals for. Really, really poor. Now, defensively, they're still pretty solid. They're 2nd from the top in terms of fewest expected goals against. And so they've got a foundation to build on, I think, at this point. And maybe playing Chelsea a little bit early in the season while there's still some of the kind of gelling together going on with that very new team put together, an injury to Pulisic and everything. Maybe it's a decent time for them to get something out of this game and kind of kickstart their season. But more than anything, we just need to see a performance from them. They've just not even put together a performance this season that makes you think, okay, they're struggling right now. They're going to come out of this and they're going to find their way.
So the blades have been blunt so far. Chelsea haven't been anything but that, have they? I mean, they've got Hakim Ziyech coming in, Werner scoring goals, Hudson-Odoi playing well. Obviously, Pulisic battling back from injury, hopefully for this game this weekend. Tammy Abraham, Giroud, they have a lot of attacking options, so we should see a lot from Chelsea in that game. I got my eye on a few other games. Arsenal against Aston Villa. Let's see if Arsenal can build on that win at United. Villa kind of slumping a little bit, even though Jack Grealish is doing his best to hold things together. Leicester against Wolves, big Midlands derby. Those two teams have started the season really well, and everyone's kind of forgotten about them. But again, they must be licking their chops and think we got a chance of being in the top 4 here this season. There's definitely a couple of spots up for grabs there. And then the third PST derby of the season, Southampton against Newcastle down at St Mary's. Both those teams are getting nasty nosebleeds from being way too high in the table early in the season. But yeah, definitely intrigued to watch those games. So all the full schedule, team news, betting odds, anything else you need ahead of the Premier League weekend, we'll have you covered on Pro Soccer Talk. All that's left for me to say is thanks for joining us, gents. Pleasure as always to grab a beer with you guys. Enjoy the action, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and always join us every weekend at 7 a.m. on NBCSN for Premier League mornings. Plus, make sure you subscribe to Peacock Premium as well, where you can watch exclusively live 175 games and same-day on-demand replays of all 380 Premier League matches as well.